Alright. So Kendrick Lamar. My
Easily
favorite artist.
the greatest rapper of our generation so far.
Easily. I don't think there's really too many that even come close to him. From a mainstream point, at least.
Now you got like your typical Kendrick Lamar, J. Cole conversations. You have your Kendrick Lamar Drake conversations, but in my opinion, they don't match up nearly as well as himself.
Alright, well how about this? Let's go through his albums here. Do you want to start off with Overly Dedicated, I guess, even though it's not really an album, but it's on most streaming services and all that.
Yeah, we'll start with it.
Alright, so what would you give it out of 10?
Now, it's not his debut album. As you said, it's not really an album. Uh, yeah, it has its weak points. Be the first to admit that. It's not the greatest album out there. A decent
Not the
start.
worst.
I think probably I give it like a 6.5 out of 10.
For someone's first major piece of like music that they've actually put out for the masses, I'd say it was fairly good. He was young, and there are some songs that really stood the test of time on that album. But you're right there is a few lower points. A lot of his other
You're
albums
talking
hold
about
up.
like HOC and Michael Jordan.
Yeah, yeah.
What's your
Whatever
favorite
else?
song off of that?
Overly Dedicated.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. Um, I like. What's my favorite? Growing Apart the Eclipse was really good. Slept on, I think.
Heavily.
But I feel like you might have to just go Ignorance is Bliss. That's probably his most sound song all around from every point of view.
All right. Fair enough. Fair enough.
PNP is decent,
Mm-hmm.
the topic around the song isn't like the best, obviously. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I mean, it had a good feature. Absolutely
Yeah.
killed it.
The topic is really cliche. It's like
But I feel like,
everybody's saying the same things. He just found a way to say it differently.
but I feel like that was on purpose. You know what I mean?
Agree. Yeah. I got you.
All right. Well, what is your favorite off it?
I got to go with the hard part too. I think it's an instant classic track. Although
We
like
consider that.
the streaming services did him like real dirty and they like don't include it, but it's if you like look at the real track list, it's the second track on it.
All right. Well, then if we're actually considering that, I would probably go with Hard Part 2 as well. I feel like that's his best one. The Hard Part 2, and the Hard Part 4, 3, and then 1, I think.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
I'd probably give it a 7 out of 10.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
I think it's my lowest of all his albums.
If we're gonna include it with his albums, then yeah, it's my low point. But at the same time, it's an introduction.
Yeah.
Well,
you can't really.
actually, I can't give him.
Anything.
I can't give him slack for it being an introduction. Actually, because you think about it, you have Eminem, and his introduction album, the Slim Shady LP, was an instant classic, and it's a top 3 album of his. You can't really like if you look at it as like trying to give him slack on an introduction album, you can't really do it because you have other artists who have blown up with their intro albums, and their debuts made them who they are now. And I think in Kendrick's case, he's changed dramatically from his debut album, especially as we get further.
Wasn't he still going as K-Dot at the time of this?
Uh,
Or was this right after the name change?
Officially, his name's changed, but pretty sure he calls himself K-Dots in songs still.
Because I forget, K-Dot was more of like that Lil Wayne influence on him.
Mm-hmm.
think this is the album where he dropped it because on his like old like EPs you can really see the influence on it.
Yeah.
Pretty heavily. He's one of the rappers that definitely found their own sound pretty quickly.
Oh, yeah,
Especially with his voice. He has a distinct voice.
Well, that's a perfect transition to Section 80 a year later, where song Rigor Mortis pretty much blew him up, and that kind of gave him, that Kendrick flow that we were used to up until To Pimp a Butterfly.
Mm-hmm. There's so many. ADHD blew up too.
Hold Up, really good song.
High Power. High Power was
that's what I consider as his real intro album. I feel like OD was just a tease, and Section 80 was the real this is Kendrick Lamar.
Mm-hmm. Definitely, that's when he really started to show who he was as an artist. 100%. I mean, there was flashes of it on Overly Dedicated, but from the very first song, Fuck Your Ethnicity, all the way down to the end, High Power. I mean, it's just classic.
High Power is such a good song.
Yeah, it's slept on. That's my favorite Kendrick song for a long time.
I don't know about that, but it is definitely up there for me.
I wouldn't say it was his best, but I would say it was my personal favorite. You know what I mean?
It was produced by J. Cole, too, which not a whole lot of people know, but he did a really, really good job on production of that track.
All right, well, how about this? We'll skip ahead a few years. We'll come back, obviously. But about the Black Friday freestyle. Who do you think got the better? J. Cole or Kendrick? I mean, that's it's pretty.
I think it's one-sided. I'm biased, obviously. I favor Kendrick Lamar heavily over J. Cole. Although I do fuck with Cole. I like a lot of his music. I think he's a really creative, unique individual. But he's, in my eyes, I have Kendrick over him in most aspects.
Virtually every category.
Mm-hmm.
Cole's got that more of a producer side to him. He doesn't always
exactly, and that's going to actually feed into why I think Kendrick outdid him on Black Friday. Part of it is it's half and half, honestly. You have two categories here because you have two different rappers going over each other's instrumentals. In their beats.
In all fairness, Kendrick did get the better beat, the easier one, I guess you would say.
No, I would straight up say the better beat. I like Tale of Two Cities a lot more than All Right, instrumental-wise.
Mm-hmm.
But Kendrick was able to match his flow, his lyrics, his rap ability to Cole's beat a lot better than Cole was able to on Kendrick's beat.
Yeah, definitely. He showed his versatility with that one. 100%. But on a beat he's not really familiar with, wasn't made for him, came out stronger.
Still waiting on this Kendrick Cole album now.
I gave up on it. Being honest.
I don't know, because we finally got Cudi and Kanye, so.
Yeah, that's true. It's true. But Cudi and Kanye was also, heavily rumored. People just say, yeah, we're just waiting on the album, but there hasn't been, any direct evidence. You've had, for, a year and a half before Kids See Ghosts came out, they were all saying, Cudi and Kanye album coming out.
Mm-hmm.
They're in the studio together.
I mean, at the end of Black Friday, they straight up said in February that they were dropping something.
Oh.
And then, Kendrick's sister said something, too, and, then her thing got deleted, and it just went all quiet.
Yeah, there's a lot of, assumptions and shit all around that collab album. Which they've definitely been in the studio together. There's really, pictures of them. They've been, in the studio together. So no doubt in my mind they've recorded a few songs. Whether they're going to put it into an entire album and release it is a completely different story.
All right, so let's go back. Along these albums here. So, Section 80 out of 10. What would you give it?
8.5, I'd say.
8.5.
Yeah.
All right, I give it 7.5.
Not crazy difference between both of our
No,
views.
I feel like he has weak points still. He hasn't nailed that perfect album. I should say near perfect. He hasn't nailed that yet. He gets really close to it, but he hasn't nailed it yet. And
but then you look at the track list, you see Fuck Your Ethnicity, you see ADHD, Hold Up, Ronald Reagan Era, Spiteful Chant, Rigor Mortis, High Power. I mean, yeah, there's definitely songs.
Just name the whole album, why don't you?
I mean, there's definitely songs in between some of those where they're kind of like Miss Filler songs, but every album has a few filler songs.
No, I know you didn't just say Keisha's song was a filler song.
I mean, I'm not saying they're all filler songs. I'm just saying those are like some of the high points of the album. I like Keisha's song.
Keisha's song's my favorite off that album.
Really?
Yeah. I fucks heavily with Brenda's Got a Baby by Tupac. And the song is like a parallel to it.
Yeah.
They even reference it in the song. Like, my favorite song off that album.
I'd probably say either Ronald Reagan Era or Hold Up.
Keisha's song was like one of our first like introspects to Kendrick's storytelling ability, which he really blew out of the water with Good Kid, Mad City. So it was kind of like a little teaser into that, like, all right, I can do this shit in one song. Imagine if I did it with a whole album. And Good Kid, Mad City came out and kind of changed the rap game. To be honest, before that, not a whole lot of people were telling stories throughout an entire album, and he did it. Now you see him all over the place.
That song made waves in the rap easily.
Mm-hmm.
That's my favorite. Sing About Me, I'm Dying of Thirst. My favorite song by him.
Sing About Me, I'm Dying of Thirst is my favorite song by him too. No ifs or buts about it.
There's not many people that can put a 12-minute song out with such replay value while telling a story through the entire song, and three different perspectives for that matter, and then change the entire song at the end and still make it perfect. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't even the same song. It was two songs combined.
Exactly.
Which is a little intro to like the second half commentary on it. I mean, it's perfect.
I'll be honest, like the verses were 99% of it. But I should say, the verses were like 80%. The other 19% was the beat, and then you got the skits in between and at the end.
Like the skits tell
like that perfect 1%.
Story. You know what I mean?
It makes it come full circle. Like it allows that climax and that conclusion that you don't get from those songs.
Mm-hmm.
Just all around great song.
Easily 10 out of 10. One of my favorite songs of all time.
Easily.
And it's 12 minutes long at that. And I've listened to it over 100 times. I mean, I have that song info app. I mean, let me see how many listens I've had on this. It's got to be over 100. I mean, it's just a perfect song.
All around. Definitely his best song he's put out.
Mm-hmm. 100%.
What else on Good Kid, Mad City? Good Kid, Mad City. We start off with Kendrick as a pretty much as a hood rat, gangbanger. He's the whole album tells a story of a change within himself.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of like his.
You can see that change in "Sing About Me, I'm Dying of Thirst."
What do they call it? Coming of age, where they learn something and then.
Yeah. That song is what changes him because right after it is Real. And Real is the first full song on the album where he's that changed man.
Not to mention the perfect placement of the song, because that song is halfway through the album. It's number 10 in the track list. I think there's 18 songs on the album.
I guess.
I think it's 18. So, I mean, it's nearly half.
Let's get this up. Let's get this up.
So I have listened to Sing About Me, I'm Dying of Thirst 122 times.
You are nuts.
That is 1,471 minutes played.
We're not going to count the bonus tracks for this because, that factors it halfway. But if you just look at the straight up CD, it's only 12 tracks. And right after Sing About Me is Real, and then Compton, which, is another really good song with Dr. Dre, who he's the protege of.
I mean, this album is just perfect all around. You got Money Trees on it, man. J-Rock's probably the best verse.
Money Trees is the song that got me into Kendrick Lamar.
Really?
I can thank John Brandon for that.
Rigor Mortis for me. Yeah, I would thank John for that too. Second Rigor Mortis dropped. He sent me the album. I didn't listen to the album at first, but I listened to Rigor Mortis, and then like a week later, I started listening to the album.
And it's like not even crazy that we like slept on him at the time because he wasn't big. Like we started listening to him right after Good Kid, Mad City dropped.
Oh yeah.
And like he had a name at this point, but like the album was still creating waves. It didn't like hit everyone the way it does now if he drops something.
But I think we were also young at the time, so we were still growing into our music interests.
Mm-hmm.
All right, out of 10, what do you give it?
Out of 10, this one gets a solid. I'll give this one a 9.
I'll give it a 9.5.
Right.
Well, you already know it's a Pimp a Butterfly.
Well,
favorite album.
I don't even need to talk about this one. I know you're going to give it a 10 out of 10 and we can move on, but
easily.
I actually do want to talk about it because it's actually, I think it's not his best album.
You think Good Kid, Mad City's better?
I think Good Kid, Mad City's his best album. I think To Pimp a Butterfly is his most important album. I think it's most important in the sense of what he's talking about throughout the entire album. I think it's important to his career. I think it's important to music in general. How he was able to blend rap and jazz like it was nothing. It's a very important album. And honestly, on top of all the recognition it already has, I think it deserves 10 times more because of how important of an album it is. Like, it's musically important, it's personally important, it's culturally important, it's politically important, it's a major album.
It's everything. Which I think the thing that people misunderstand about the album, they think it's just a straight, like, Black Pride, like, Black Power album, but it's not.
And those themes are prevalent, but it's not what the album is. If you take it for that, then you're listening to it wrong.
You're listening. You're trying to find things in the album that aren't necessarily there completely. I mean, there's songs where that's like the prevalent topic at hand. Partially, like you got All Right, you got Hood Politics, you got like the Black of the Berry, where he delves into like some problems in that, like racism and systematic oppression and that kind of stuff.
Now, I think there's also a bunch of other themes that are addressed in the album that are sometimes often overlooked, like a lack of spirituality and falling out of grace with God, which he talks about on How Much a Dollar Cost. There's delving into hatred of himself and that redemption and depression and suicidal thoughts on You and I.
It was like one of the deepest songs ever put out, probably the deepest.
You is my favorite song off that album.
I've never seen so much Kendrick in one song than You.
He's so critical of himself, and it's.
He's his
I know
own
it was a
biggest critic.
painful write. I know it's painful to record. I know it's painful to listen to. And what the fuck is that?
What?
There's a bug on my cord. Get the fuck out of here. No, that ain't it. No, I'm moving, but that wasn't it.
Yeah, fuck that.
Anyway, I'm sitting in the safety of the couch. Yeah, fuck that shit. I think that You is, again, his most important song because it shows that even a big name like Kendrick Lamar, who at this point is a rap superstar, everyone was super hyped for this album. Everyone listens to this album. Everyone praised this album. And it made everyone look for and hungry for more Kendrick Lamar. So, I think You is the most important song on the album. I shouldn't say the most important because there's a lot of different aspects. So I should say it's one of the most important songs. If you're a fan
of Kendrick, it's the most important song to you.
Not even. I think it's the most important song released in terms of a mental illness, in terms of depression, in terms of suicidal thoughts. Yeah, like one of the lines in the song is, money can't solve suicidal weakness. And
money can't solve what? You there?
Yes, sir.
What we saying?
I don't know, my everything fell apart. Anyway, money can't stop a suicidal weakness. And, that's showing, a lot of people think their problems will get better with money and fame. And Kendrick is telling you straight up, that's not it. Problems like that you have to address personally and you have to solve personally, and material objects aren't going to fix it for you. So,
I mean, you've definitely seen that with, the last couple of years. There have been a lot of celebrity suicides, and one thing you really didn't hear much about was that Kendrick was going through depression until this album came out.
Because it's such a, I shouldn't say now, because now a lot of people are cashing in on it, but it's an issue that's been swept under the rug for a very long time.
Definitely. Especially celebrities, you feel, which is why that line in there is important, because it's saying just because you are a celebrity, just because you have this money, doesn't mean you're not going through the same problems anyone else is going through.
Exactly.
In fact, you could even be going through more problems, because then you're kind of more alone. I feel like the broker you are, the more people you have around you almost.
Once you have money, you're surrounded by frauds and snakes and people who just want to be around you because of your reputation.
Yeah.
And you never know who your real ones are. There's a phrase out there that says, it goes along the lines of, I feel bad for the pretty girl because she never knows who her friends are, or something along those lines. Something to that gist. That, someone who seems better off in a certain situation or aspect isn't really better off because they have their own bubble they're encased in.
There's not many people you can go to at that point. I mean, I'm saying everybody around you is fake. Obviously, you have your real ones, but it's more prevalent of the fake people around you because they're all trying to get that money.
Exactly.
So, what would you give it? What was your rating on it?
9.5 out of 10.
5 out of 10. Then you give Go Kid, Mad City a 9?
Mm-hmm.
So would you rate Go Kid, Mad City as a better album then?
Personally. Personally, on a critical rating, I liked most of the aspects of To Pimp a Butterfly more. But in my eyes, I see the storytelling of Good Kid, Mad City as a better album.
So do we want to consider You Untitled Unmastered?
Yeah, because we considered OD.
I think we can do it pretty quickly. There's not much to take away from it.
Highlights on the album. Highlights are Untitled 2, Untitled 7, Untitled 8. And then
Untitled 4,
there, Untitled 4, you got Untitled 3. Shit, I just pretty much said the whole album was the highlight.
They're all good. Don't get me wrong. I would say my two favorite on the album are 2 and 7. 2 is that more of a commercial appeal, which makes sense why it was a throwaway because it didn't really suit
It didn't
Pimp a Butterfly.
fit. It didn't fit the album. None of them really fit.
I can see 7. 7, I feel, could have been on there.
No, because Levitate, honestly, I could see that on Dan. A lot more than I could see it on No Butterfly.
Which makes me think it might have been one of the later songs he recorded.
Well, 7, he recorded between 2013 or 14 and 16. Like, he recorded it, like, he was, because it's such a long track and there's different aspects to it, like, it's been worked on and stopped for 2 or 3 years before he scrapped it and then released it again on Untitled Unmastered.
Which we said, got to thank LeBron for this album. I mean, should LeBron hit a more artists?
I ain't saying LeBron the greatest basketball player of all time, but like he the GOAT for that one.
Yeah, honestly. I mean, what would you give Untitled Unmastered out of 10?
I would give it an 8.
8? I'd say probably an 8 too.
Yeah,
7.5, like, 8. It's not my favorite.
It was a very interesting album, but it doesn't
I think it's
compare
right near
to others.
It's right near OD with me.
Yeah. All right, so damn.
I don't give Damn as much hate as I think other people do. I think other people look as Damn as his like Kendrick's going mainstream, he's leaving.
No, and I don't see that at all because I don't see that. Damn is by far my favorite Kendrick album so far.
Really,
I love Damn. I love the concept of it. I loved the concept of playing the album track list in reverse, and the story has a different meaning. And like I said, I think that Good Kid, Mad City was his best album because of his storytelling. I love storytelling in rap, and when he was able to not only take a story, but flip the story and have it make the exact same sense, I should say equivocal sense, it was perfect.
See, what I think people's problem is they see tracks like Loyalty and like Love, where like he's appealing more to the mainstream. I mean, you have DNA and Humble too, where he has more of like this.
See, like DNA, I think is a good mix of a mainstream song, but like a deeper song.
Yeah, but I mean,
Humble, I
same
think.
Time, people want for some reason people want artists to not blow up because they think it's like cooler to them that they're underground and less people know them. But in reality, you should be like appreciating the fact that more people are listening to him. Yes, he's drawing an audience. He's getting more money, especially because music nowadays. I mean, it's rough. I mean, you're not selling physical copies anymore like that. It's all streams, and you see the way they make money off of streams. That's why most of their income comes from concerts and stuff. Which the bigger audience they have, the more concerts they can throw. Which ultimately, the more music they can make, the more money they have, the more time and effort they can put into it.
I understand, the downside in having an artist blow up. The style that you fell in love with will change, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. I think change is all right.
I think you need to change. You can't stay the same, especially not in the career like rap or something like that.
All right, here, let's wrap up Dan real quick and let's talk about Change of Kendrick Lamar. So, my favorite songs off Damn are Feel and Lust. I think.
That was Feel. 100% Feel.
Feel
and Fear. Feel and Fear.
Fear is a really good song. So is Duckworth, but my favorites are Feel and Lust. And, I think one song on that album sticks out like a sore thumb, which, for me is all right because, like I said, the flipping of the storytelling, it's like pretty much in the center of the album. So it's a good point to rotate around, but it's Humble. Humble sticks out like a sore thumb. Humble does not fit the rest of the album at all. Humble is straight up a song that was made for radio play.
100%. Which also, I mean, like, Humble is everywhere. I mean, you had him using for sports and everything.
Now, I love Humble. It's a really good song. I'm not, trashing it in any way. I'm saying it stuck out like a sore thumb, and I don't think it fit the album or the rest of the sound of the album. that well at all.
Yeah, I see what you mean. So you said your favorite is Feel, and who else? Which Feel. Both of us Feel amazing.
Great song.
Such a good song.
Favorite Kendrick album? I give it a 9 out of 10.
So then I'd say like an 8.7, 8.9, 9, around there.
Bringing out these whack ass decimals. I give it like an 8.314.
Oh, all right. So what about the hard part 4? Since it's like not on there. I think that was the perfect like segue into the album. Like
the hard part 4. Honestly, when the hard part 4 dropped, it was the only thing I listened to for like 2 weeks.
They took it off of streaming services now. It's not on Apple Music no more.
Wow. Why they gotta do me like that? Why are you taking the heart off? Part 2, another. That is muy corny. Man, that's weird.
What?
Why are they just gonna take it off?
Yeah, I don't know why they did it. I just found out like a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago. All right, so you said change in the artist.
So, as people grow, not only does their music mature, but they themselves mature. What was Kendrick's turning point where he matured as an artist? Not only as an artist, but as a person. And it was relevant in his content.
I think from the Butterfly, I think there's a big contrast between Good Kid, Mad City and the Butterfly.
Absolutely agree with you. It's like after Good Kid, Mad City, he found something important. He grabbed a hold of it, sank his teeth into it, ripped it out, spit it on a piece of paper, spit it in the booth, recorded it, released it. He had a very, very, very important album. Because Good Kid, Mad City, there were important topics addressed there, but those topics were only addressed if they fit in with the story. And Timmy Butterfly said, fuck the story. I'm here to tell you important themes and important messages, and they're extremely relevant to our modern society, and here's why. And he took songs like Backstreet Freestyle, and he turned around and made songs like How Much a Dollar Cost.
Yeah. He definitely was like a more mature topic.
I think
all across the album. There wasn't. You had like things like "This Dick Ain't Free" and shit like that. But
that's another reason why I really like Dan, is because he was able to take mature content, right, put them into songs on a mature album, but make it so you can play it on the radio. Make it so, people will listen to it. But mature audiences can hear between and read between the lines and understand what he's actually talking about.
Yeah, there's definitely a point in that album where you can listen to it for its face value, as like these hard hitting songs where they have like the radio hits and everything. But when you go deeper into the album, that's when you really realize, like, hey, there's an actual meaning behind this album. It's not just straight radio hits, and that's what I think a lot of people failed to realize. I think they gave up. I don't think they listened to it as deeply as they should have.
Exactly. I agree with that there. All right, so Kendrick Lamar, where do you have him all time right now?
All time. Top 15.
I'm with you on that. I think I have him
11?
top 10.
I think it's hard to put him in the top 10 at this point, just because he's not done yet.
See, like,
which is the same problem I have with people with like basketball, where they put LeBron at like number 1 or number 2. I feel like it's hard to put a current player or a current musician or anything in the top 5, top 10 of something. But they're not done yet. You haven't seen everything that they've had to offer. You know what I mean?
I think
100%. I think he'll end there.
I think you put people there once they fall out of their prime, because like.
But what is the prime in music? Because I feel like.
All right, ready? Ready? Here's an excellent example. The Eminem show, Encore.
Yeah,
Eminem fell out of his prime in 2003. And he's had glimpses of it again. We saw some times where everyone's like, "Oh shit, the old Slim's back." But
was it that he fell out of his prime, or that he found this kind of creativity with drugs, and that he became sober, and because of that, he stopped? Because I feel like it's for like something with like athletics. It's easy to say there's a prime. The person's body is at its physical best for this amount of time, but you don't have that problem when you're being creative. I mean, yes, you can run out of ideas, but there's always new things out there. I mean, Royce the 5'9", he's been in the game how many years, and he's still making good music. He just dropped a good album.
Oh, look at Ryan. I love that album.
Not saying it's like the best. He's still gonna put out quality music.
I have Book of Ryan as a top 5 release this year. I think I have it at number 4. Very good. Very good. I think once we find a Kendrick Lamar album that's and then one after that's or bad, that's when we know he's falling out. He's falling off. And, I don't know when that's going to be. It'll eventually happen. Every artist has that moment. Either they just stop making music and they never fall out of their prime because they never released anything to signify they fell out of their prime, or Eminem releases Revival. And
that never happens. Awful album.
I feel like there could be a debate on another podcast here, but I enjoyed the album.
I
didn't rate it high. Like critically, I didn't rate it high at all. I gave it honestly a 6.5, if that, maybe a 6. Just personally, I like the album. So we'll have to talk about that on a future topic.
Definitely. There's a lot I have to say about that album, and none of it's good. So it's a completely different topic here. Outside of
so you're playing wagers a lot on Fortnite, making some money that way.
Yeah, man. Fortnite, probably the biggest game we've ever seen, ever. I don't think there's ever going to be a game like this size.
Shit,
just
do you remember
today.
when GTA Online came out?
Alright, for an instance here.
The
today,
world went nuts. Okay.
What is today's date? Saturday, July 21st. It's nearly been a year since the game's been out. Okay, so keep in mind, it didn't just release like a week ago. It's not this crazy hype around it. Nick Merckx, he was streaming. He had 70,000 viewers at one point. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Ninja, another streamer, had 162,000 viewers. Tfue, another one, 94,000 viewers. That's insane. That's just 3 people. There's hundreds of other streamers, all with over 1,000 viewers, at least. Those are just the top 3 at one point today.
It's definitely crazy.
The hype that this game has managed to last over almost a year. It's just full hype, and the hype's only getting bigger because now they're releasing more competitive. They're putting money back into the game that they're giving out in these tournaments, like today. All right, Nick Merckx, he placed third, $40,000 he won. 60,000 was the first place winner.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's one day, 5 hours worth of play. Made $40,000.
Shit, if I was good at Fortnite, I would be doing that all the time.
I wish I was that good. Not to mention, they're able to do it on all platforms. They're able to do it. I'm not sure about Xbox. The Xbox, PlayStation, a little weird, but PlayStation and PC. Both of them. It's just a battle royale, man. People love to just drop down. 100
Honestly,
people fight for weapons and get kills.
it is becoming a huge trend in video games. We're about to see it in the new Call of Duty game that comes out.
The Battlefield game too.
The Battlefield game's having it too.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's just everywhere now. Like, I think that's also going to be the death of the genre because everyone's going to run it into the ground.
Oh, yeah. I mean, everything that's going to an end. I feel like
Fortnite's on the way out right now, in my opinion. It's been on the way out.
Battle Royale?
Battle Royale, no, but Fortnite itself is just they've been making terrible changes to the game for months now.
Yeah, but you say that, but then you see all these people that are watching the game. You might not enjoy it. Like I love the game.
I can watch people play the game, right? I can enjoy seeing people do infinitely better than I ever will. I don't have a problem with that. I'm just saying that me as a player, who I consider myself relatively decent, right? I know you're like, but like I consider myself decent, and if there are changes out there that are detriments to the good players and benefit the poor players, like, I get that you want a balance to your game, but there are changes to the gameplay that just don't need to be made, and there are problems in the game that they just need to focus on and fix to make it better. I think they're focusing on the wrong things.
Yeah, I mean, it's not perfect. Nothing ever is, but I think for a game that's free, I mean, anybody could play it. I mean, all platforms, it's open to everyone, cross-platform play. It's free. There's no money. You don't have to put anything down. They're making all this money just based off skins alone. That's insane. They make $300-something million in April. 1 month? That's insane.
That is...
They've reached over $1 billion, right? Did I just see that?
Possibly.
I think they made over $1 billion.
That's insane, especially considering it's a game that's free.
All of their money is coming just off of skins and dances. Not pay to win, none of that.
I really hope that, like, if companies learn anything from this game, is that, to stop making pay-to-win games. Oh, yeah. I'm getting sick of seeing that trend.
Well, I mean, Fortnite's definitely changing some shit. I mean, isn't new Call of Duty, the multiplayer map's free? Did I see that? I think you're just paying for zombies maps for this.
Well, they got me there, because that's the only thing I'm playing that new Call of Duty for.
Right. I mean, I played it at MLG Anaheim. It was pretty good. I enjoyed it. It felt like Black Ops 2 with a little bit more health. No boost. None of that. Boost to the ground, finally. Just being World War II was just terrible. That game was awful. It wasn't even that bad in the beginning. I mean, like it was never good. Like good, but like they made some dumb ass changes to that game. Right with it. One second. Let me see.
I'd love to find a game that I can play nonstop and thoroughly enjoy playing. And I feel like games right now have such a short life cycle. Like, once you hit a certain point with the game, it just gets dull. Either you played the fuck out of it, or it's just like the game itself falls off.
I think that's what Battle Royale is perfect at, because there's no progression in it. Yeah, you have like this battle pass or something like Fortnite, right? But you're not leveling up to unlock things. Everything's given to you. You just have to get it like on the map while playing. You're not sitting here trying to earn XP to get a gun. You know what I mean? You're not put at a disadvantage because you're a lower level than someone.
Yeah.
Which I think that's what people love.
Honestly, the only progression in the game is experience. The more experience you have at the game, the better you get. And people who play the game pretty much for a career, they're going to be infinitely better than somebody who just picks it up and starts playing in their first game. Like,
even then, anybody can pick up this game and win.
exactly.
Which I think that's another thing people love. You can't just pick up a Call of Duty or like a 2K and like just go out there and just win everything. You know what I mean? It doesn't work like that.
Call of Duty, yeah, because Call of Duty is just that's team based. You just hop on your team's back, but battle royale games are.
Yeah, people that want to
need to have
solo, duo.
You need to have experience in the game. You have to be able to do well in it. And if you can do well in the game, obviously you'll do better on your own. You'll do better with teammates, and
not to mention it's so
more
simple.
Enjoyable.
Fortnite is the simplest game I've ever seen in my life. You have 4 things that you can build. Outside of that, yeah, you can make some edits to it. Not a lot of people do. There's like three or four different ARs in the game, 3 shotguns. It's simple. It's easy to learn really quickly. Everything.
Yeah.
There's not 30 different guns in the game. All these different things.
No, the concept is really like easy. Like, you see somebody, kill them. Someone's shooting at you, build your cover. It's a very cut and dry concept, and very simple. And I think they had a really good idea. They capitalized on it, and it worked out really well for Epic. So, kudos to them for not coming up with the idea, but coming up with it in their own, like taking their own unique spin and putting it on it.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Fortnite is changing the gaming community. I mean, it took it on by storm. I mean, you got everybody playing this game. You got celebrities. You got everyday people. People that don't even play video games. Have you at least heard of this game? You know what I mean? It's insane how big it is.
Yeah.
We're gonna this is a game we're gonna look back at and be like, wow, that's insane. Just the fact that it even got to the point that it's at right now, which I don't think it's reached its peak yet. I think it's going to get bigger.
I think it's going to get bigger and it's going to crash down. And it might honestly happen once this Call of Duty comes out.
I don't see Fortnite ever disappearing, I'll be honest with you.
I don't see it disappearing, but I see it dying.
It'd be dying down a little bit. I think there need to be another Battle Royale game that would take Fortnite and make it better. Which I feel like not a lot are going to do. I mean, I feel like this Call of Duty is going to happen, right? This Battlefield is going to happen. But are they going to be as good and as fluid as a Fortnite is?
I don't know.
It's just appealing because there's this whole building aspect to the game that no other game has.
I don't know. We had those Minecraft Hunger Games. The OG.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it is. It's basically Minecraft with guns.
It's a really good concept. They took it, put their own unique spin on it. Now, I'm a little mad at Fortnite right now, but you know what game I'm really, really mad at?
What?
2K19. I'm gonna tell you why.
Where's that?
You got Jason Tatum, 87 overall.
Yeah.
Right?
Jason Tatum.
You know who else you got at 87 overall?
Oh, I know. Okay. Donovan Mitchell, man.
And you know who else you got?
Ben Simmons.
How the fuck are you going to have the Rookie of the Year, the runner-up, and the third-place guy the same fucking overall? Did the Rookie of the Year not mean jack shit?
I think that they did not want to piss anyone off and we're just going to give them all the same overall. I feel like Jason Tatum should have been an 85.
Jason Tatum should have been an 85. I think Donovan Mitchell being an 87 is fair. But I feel like, Simmons, has an 88 or an 89.
Yeah, I feel like...
I don't know, I'm nitpicking off the numbers here a lot, but it's just the fact that you're placing an obviously tiered system on the same level. I mean,
the entire game is just based on how the players play. You could have a 90.
Oh, yeah, no, that's absolutely going to change in the first fucking week. But
yeah. I mean, plus they're always updating the things. But just to have the fact that all 3 of these players are the same overall. which doesn't make much sense to me, especially since Jason Tatum didn't have that good of a regular season. He had a phenomenal postseason. I'm not gonna lie. That dude balled out. Major reason why the Celtics made it as far as they did.
Mm-hmm.
But the entire body of work should be looked at. And I feel like Donovan Mitchell, while he's more of like a volume scorer, he's not as efficient as Tatum. I feel like he should still have gotten a little bit of a higher rating, like 1 or 2 higher. And Ben Simmons probably should have had 1 or 2 higher than Mitchell. Not a lot, because obviously Simmons can't shoot. He can't shoot the ball mid range, none of that.
Should 5 feet out. So
he dribbles, he rebounds, amazing playmaking.
Honestly,
he has everything.
I think he is the most non-point guard playing point guard. Because he does a lot of the things point guards do, but he can't do a lot of the things point guards should. I think he's honestly better suited as a forward.
He should be playing.
He doesn't fit
forward, which I think
as a forward in our scheme.
Well, I think Fultz will be a major ball handler in the Sixers lineup next year.
I need Fultz to ball out.
I think he's going to. I think people are too fast to give him this title of boss.
Look, all I'm saying right now is, I'm a little buzzed that Philly didn't get LeBron or Kawhi. I was honestly expecting one of the two of them going into the offseason, and we didn't get either of them. The Raptors got Kawhi.
Not mad, but I wanted. But here's the thing, though. If you look, did you see who Spurs were asking for from the Sixers?
The Spurs wanted
They wanted either Ben Simmons or Joel Embiid in that trade.
Yeah. The Spurs were absolutely they were shopping Kawhi like he was a Lamborghini when he was a Ferrari with a flat tire. He's a very elite player when he's healthy, but he's been plagued with injuries. And, they were acting like they didn't have to get rid of him this offseason before not getting anything for him. So I don't know why they wouldn't take something for him. They got DeMar DeRozan. I think DeMar DeRozan will fit relatively well with the Spurs.
Which I think the Raptors are dumb as hell for making that trade, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, we act like the Raptors weren't going to finish third in the East anyway. Official prediction, by the way, Raptors are finishing third in the East.
I say the same thing. Third place.
No.
Celtics are getting first, easily.
Where do you got the Sixers?
Second.
And shit, the inner Philly kid of me wants to scream the Sixers got first here, but I'll be honest, we lost, we lost a big chunk of our team here. And
I think
we don't have the parts to replace that yet.
I think the Celtics have the best starting 5 outside of the Warriors league.
I think that if the season started right now, the Celtics take it. But we still have
beating the Warriors.
We have to have something in the works.
Wait, what?
We have to have something in the works here. There's something. The process has got something going on under the rug here that we're figuring it out here. All right. Because right now, the Sixers are not finishing second. And it pains me to say it, but I currently had the Sixers under the Raptors.
Really? And who the hell do you have at second? You said the Raptors are third.
Shit. For all intents and purposes, I gotta have the Warriors going second in the East and first in the West. They're just a fucking super team. They're dominating the entire league right now. It's not even fair to say they're only on the West, because once they have first in the West, they have first in the East. They have first in the league. there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
I think that's the major reason why the Sixers haven't pushed for some of these moves, because they know they're not going to beat the Warriors. No one's going to beat the Warriors right now.
No, Warriors are falling in.
And they have the greatest starting five of all time.
Yeah. Yeah, they do. I think the Warriors have 2 more seasons before they're out of the finals.
I think Clay
dynasties collapse just like that. They're going to start losing. They're going to start losing their starting players for money. You're going to have players that are running out of their contracts. Warriors are going to start lowering their money to free up more space, and they're not going to want it. And they're going to want to lead their own team, the way that Steph Curry has been able to lead it, the way Kevin Durant's been able to lead it the last 2 seasons, the way that everyone wants to lead the team. Now, I feel like Klay Thompson absolutely cannot lead a team. He's a cog in the rest of the gears, right? He's an excellent one at that. He's perfect as a team player, but he is not a leader. Any team that he led by himself would fall instantly.
I think he is the perfect sidekick to any team.
Exactly. If you have somebody who can lead, he's the right hand, and it would work out a lot better than if you threw him as your guy.
He might be the second best 3-and-D player in the league.
Which is why, Kawhi Leonard, surprised the Spurs are trying to shop him so high. He's not a leader.
Kawhi?
I don't think he's a team leader. He's a very good sidekick, as you said. He's a very good team player.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like
I think any team that has him will do better than they did without him. Aside for the Raptors. The Raptors are just going to finish third regardless. But any other team would have benefited from pulling Kawhi in at whatever expense. I'll be honest. If we had to get rid of Simmons for him or for Kawhi, I wouldn't be 100% against it. I love Ben Simmons. I want to see him thrive in Philly, but like I said, I think he would be a better forward than a guard, and I think Kawhi Leonard is currently a better forward than him. I think he would fit better in Philadelphia than Simmons would if they were in that position.
If we're being honest, I think Paul George would have been the best fit.
Well, Paul George in OKC is another thing.
I don't think Paul George even knew what the hell he wanted to do, to be honest with you. He just wanted to go to LA.
I think my man's really low-key wanted to go to Golden State, but he didn't want to be that guy.
I think everybody wants to go to Golden State, but they don't want to be that guy.
You know who was that guy, though?
Fucking Boogie Dog.
Marcus Cousins, man. Can't say I blame the guy, It's a very cheap way out. Literally, I'm pretty sure he got veterans minimum, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
$5 million.
He's
a max contract player playing for $5 million just to get a ring. He's getting $5 million.
Yeah. And I mean, shit. If I were in his position, I would want, I can't hang $90 million on a shelf. I can't put that there. I mean, I could, but I would rather have a ring that says I won the biggest game of my league sitting on my shelf. So I don't blame him for wanting to leave, or for wanting to go to a team that will win. But at the same time, there's so much more in taking a team that won't win and putting them to the top and leading them to the top. And I think DeMarcus Cousins would have been a good leader. And
I 100% believe he should have stayed with the Pelicans. I think him and Anthony Davis were a really good guy.
And didn't. Now, if we're talking about max contract players that are playing for veterans minimum right now, we can't ignore Isaiah Thomas here, and that is the most unfortunate story. Honestly, like he goes from like $100 million contract to 2.
Yeah, I mean, I hope he balls out.
He needs to. He needs to prove everyone in this league wrong. Like, honestly, I don't think, aside from the people directly behind writing out his contract and signing him to it, I don't think there's a single person in the world who doesn't want him to ball out. I think there's a single person who doesn't want to prove them wrong. Because he's worth so much more than that. And regardless of a bad season, you're signing him and demoralizing him. But at the same time, you're inspiring him. And I think he's going to be an absolute monster coming into 2019.
So, I mean, it's just, he would be a phenomenal player had he had some height to it. I think that's his only problem, is just his height. I think it was the same way with AI. Could you imagine if AI was like 6'4", 6'5"? You might have been one of the best players to ever play the game.
Shit, can you imagine if the Sixers won that final?
Yeah, right. I mean, they won one game, right? The only game the Lakers lost that year in the playoffs.
Yeah, man, like, fuck that. I think AI would have been a great player. I shouldn't say a great player. He obviously was a great player. He's one of my all-time favorite players. But I think he would have been a lot better in terms of everyone else's eyes if he were taller.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, it's been an hour, so we're going to have to cut it off here. Kendrick Lamar, Fortnite, 2K, NBA. Definitely good talk. I will catch you 2 Fridays from now. Another hour-long podcast. Hopefully the rest of the squad will join up this time.
Yeah, hopefully.
Until then, though.
It was real.
It was real. Is that what we're going to call this? I don't know what we're going to call this.
I don't know.
Neither do I.
We'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out by next time.
Yep. There we go. Yeah, too.